absolutely no class. He couldn't walk over and say to you, "Hey, Mike, we need the flag."
I know,
You
yeah.
gotta be an idiot and stand out there and yell.
I know. That's why the first time I had to deal with him after I took this job,
Yeah.
shut down his hands. I thought he was going to have a freaking stroke.
Ooh, I said, what an idiot. What's
Yeah.
wrong with these people?
Don't come at me like a bull, because you know what I'm going to be? I'm a pig-headed Southern Irishman. I'll take it on.
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Today is September 20th. It is 6:05 p.m. If we can please stand and remove all our hats for a moment of silence, and we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. Is there anybody taping? Val, Stratton? Peter is taping also? Okay. Anybody else? Rich, you were also? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Body camera for Rich? Body camera for you? Okay. All right. Thank you. First up is the approval of the minutes from the meeting on August 16, 2023. Is there any objection to the minutes, changes? No? Okay. I'd like to make a motion to accept the meeting, minutes for August 16, 2023. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Board correspondence. Leo, would you like to read that?
Received September 6, 2023. Hello, Patron and Board of Directors. My name is John David Hanna, newer resident, new member of Fine Arts Council of Hernando County, who would like to be of further service to the community with the management of one new group and the revival of another. My first request is to initiate the Brookridge plays. We will train, then present plays. The first choice of actors will be from the community, but we will need to draw young people from the larger community. Once trained, the ensembles will perform elsewhere, hopefully stage west and beyond. It's easier to draw gratis players unless it becomes a hit if they have stage access. I'm requesting 3 hours a week in off hours, Monday or Tuesday. Actors will need to make some effort to be available when the room is accessible. I will stay with 2 plays. I forgot the title of the first, but the author, my friend, is Jan Hogue. He worked for the local entertainment circle here, High Point, Silver Dawn, etc., several years ago. This play is about 3 elderly men reminiscing at a train station. He doesn't require a large cast. The Profligate Daughter is a morality play, and it has 16 parts. Same thing, train it up and move it out into the public with actors from here receiving priority, where the plays will come from after that is over. But I plan to keep one in training at all times. Accolades for Brookridge support of arts will be provided at every opportunity. The second is the Brooksville Food Bank. This is twofold. Not only will we help local residents that need food, but we will store some emergencies. Unless someone knows something different, a shed will be needed, paid for by donation. Food for 2,500 will get heavy and cannot be stored on raised flooring. A once-a-month meeting will suffice, and I have little preference as to where or when. Donations and stock can be tracked on my website, where all transactions through my nonprofit LLC, Odds of Royal Highlands.org, are posted. Accountability reports can be provided to the board or anyone assigned. Thank you, John David, Hannah.
Patricia, I think you had, looked into the time frame, and that's not feasible at this time.
I'm sorry, we cannot tie up the North Hall. Mike and I looked at this thoroughly, and there's just no time that we can tie up that many hours through the week, or, especially if we're not on a schedule.
Okay. So right now, Mr. Hannah, we cannot accommodate you for the amount of time that you would like. On the second thing that you brought up, we very much appreciate you bringing that to the board's attention. We greatly appreciate your concerns as a new member of our community, and we would like to take this under advisement at this time. Thank you very much. The next thing that we have is the treasurer's report. Jim?
Thank you. Due to the shortness of time, I'll try to be very brief. We're going to cover the balances. The operating balance is $380,000. They're just doing the thousands, so save time. The reserve balance is $2.437 million. We had interest earned in the operating account of $533, $6,100 for the year. In the reserve, we received almost $7,000 in month-to-date interest. In the reserve account, $18,000 year-to-date. The total interest that we've earned through the end of the year is $24,651. As of today, it's actually $27,742. We had 3 payouts in the reserve account, $2,430, $11,000, and $4,200, with $200 coming in as a men's club donation. That's the revenue donation that came in. That was $200. The men's club graciously donated for the signs that came out for the no parking as well as the evacuation. The Cap City balance with the donated funds is $25,908. Now, if anybody's actually watching, a quick question should be asked by somebody in the group, so I'll save time. Why did the operating account balance go way up and the reserve balance go way down? It's roughly $50,000 swing. And there's a real simple answer. I made a mistake in the last monthly report. $50,000 that was in a CD was categorized as reserve when it should have been categorized as operating. So if you move $50,000 for reserve and add it to operating, operating goes up 50, reserve goes down. So we're doing quite well. The numbers speak for themselves, and you can see month-over-month changes. Any questions? Yes, ma'am. She didn't see a reserve payment this month, and we'll answer the question. There was no reserve payment in the month of August. In July, we made 2.5 payments. As you remember, we made 50, just round numbers, 52,000, and then like 4,000, which left 46,310. That would be payment number 8 of 10 that we're required to make of 52,000. That 8th payment, I made it about a week ago, so we now have made 8 out of the 10 payments that we have. October, November, December to finish the final 3 months to get 2 payments in. But remember, 2 payments were not made in the calendar year 2022. So we're $90,000 short from operating that needs to go into reserve. We need to move that money. Will we have it by December? The quick answer is, I don't know. I'm guessing yes, but it's gonna be close. And it's just like the $41,000 litigation expense we had. Those are clearly unexpected. You have $41,000 for litigation, you have another $90,000 for, moving money from operating to reserve. Those are not accounted for. So more to come as we get closer to the end of the year. Thank you.
Okay. I know we're trying to stay on track tonight because we have our guest coming regarding the development in front. I'll make my remarks very brief. First off, I want to very much thank everybody for coming out to our ice cream social. I want to thank the ladies, Brookridge ladies, for their donation, $200, $250, and the men's club for $100. I want to thank Rich Stratton, Mikey, for helping us as always. The board, we really enjoyed serving you. We plan on doing this every quarter. And we're thinking about, once the weather cools off, maybe we have a chili cook-off with some door prizes. So we're gonna go ahead and work on something like that. Want to bring you up to date because I know Fleetway is a front and center. I spoke with County Code today. Their process is a longer process than our process. They have to do increments of 30 to 60 days depending on the violation. We've had movement on our case already in court. There has been some more filings. That person is still within their 20 days and that clock is ticking away. Once that clock ticks away, we will be set to go and get a court date to go to court. County said to me today, Mr. Peters, that we would be in court before they would get to court. I asked him if he would consider doing an expedited demolition permit once we got to court. And he said that he definitely would because of unsafe and unsecure building. So that is the road we're gonna go down for right now. But we are moving down that road and we hope to get a court date here probably within the next, I would say, 30 days. But you can also get online and see all the paperwork that we filed. So just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. We want to thank you as always for your support. Without you, we would not be here and be serving you because that's what we want to do. We want to continue to serve the residents, and we appreciate every single one of you that come out. Thank you.
I have a couple things I'd like to say. Mike Mahan, would you please stand up? The price is right, bud. As a community, we'd like to thank you for all the time that you donate to this community. You run here, and we greatly appreciate it. And thank you for you donating hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
I just want to thank everybody. I appreciate it. I enjoy it. If I didn't like it, I would not do it. Just say it.
And also, the Monday night entertainment is run by Dick Terrio. Thursday night, excuse me, well, I got the days wrong. We have the Monday night, the Thursday night entertainment has replaced every speaker in here. Probably, if we had to pay for them, it would have been around $5,000 to $6,000. They donated all the money, they helped put them up, and they should last us 20 years. And I think that, thank you so much for using that.
Okay, here comes the good stuff. The appointment of Arlene Hearns as general manager.
In June of 2023, Arlene was asked to step into a role of intern supervisor. She was taking classes to get her CAM license. She has completed the class and passed the CAM license on September 6, 2023. The board would like to officially offer Arlene the position of general manager of Brookridge.
Okay. I move for the board to officially offer Arlene Hearns position of general manager of Brookridge. Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have a third? All in favor? Aye. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate it. It's not a hard class, but it's very detailed and meticulous. And I want to thank the board for this opportunity again. And I thank you all for everybody that's reached out, all your congratulations, your text, phone call. And I'm really going to continue to do my best to serve this community. Thank you.
We have some new unit reps with us tonight, and if people are not aware of what the unit reps do, all of them will gladly tell you what they do. They help the board tremendously. They're like a liaison for us. They help us with things that we need help with as far as if we're doing meetings, things like that. They help keep the clubhouse open and running for us. They help wherever we need them at a moment's notice. They will, if you need us, call us. They're a great group. And if you're interested in joining the unit reps, please see any one of those lovely young ladies. But we have some unit reps that are brand new, and we would like to go ahead and swear them in. And Leo is the liaison, so he is going to go ahead and do that. First, we're going to make our motion and stuff. I'll read the board agenda topic, and then Leo can get up and swear them in. This is, as per Brookridge Rules and Regulations, C, Roles and Responsibilities, Section 9, Unit Representatives. The unit representatives are an elected group of members whose purpose is to assist the board with communications and special projects, promote improvements in community pride, and serve as a voting clerk as necessary. There are currently 3 vacancies for this position of unit rep. We have received resumes that are attached from Michelle Adams, welcome back, Kelly Brock, Chris Richardson to fill the vacancies. I would like to approve and appoint Michelle Adams, Kelly Brock, and Chris Richardson to fill the vacancies. Can I have I'd like to make a motion to appoint Michelle Adams, Kelly Brock, and Chris Richardson to the unit reps. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye, unanimous. Is Michelle Adams, Kelly Brock, and Chris Richardson, from what I understand, I believe Michelle is home ill tonight. Is Kelly Brock and Chris Richardson here? Oh, okay. And Chris Richardson? Yes, come on down. Thank you.
Raise your hands, please. Do you solemnly promise and swear that you will administer the office to which you have been appointed to the best of your ability and judgment, in conformity with the governing documents of Brookridge Community Property Owners Incorporated? That you will, in all your acts, be governed by the principles of honesty, justice, and fair play, and in every manner possible, endeavor to promote and safeguard the best interests of the citizens of Brookridge and the welfare of its membership? Do you so swear? You may lower your hand. By virtue of the authority conferred upon me, I do hereby proclaim you as duly appointed and officially installed in the office. Can I continue? Someone's saying I got a big mouth. I had the opportunity of attending the last meeting, which was on 9/12/2023. I learned a lot at that meeting. They announced to themselves one rep had resigned. Her name is Sheila. 3 new reps were appointed, and we just accepted 2 of the 3 tonight. You know. They need 1 more rep, 1 vacancy left. Since last month, 15 new residents have been accepted by Brookridge. Much discussion ensued about their role as reps and what their duties are with new members and what they can and should not do. Additional discussion questioned how they should contact or assist new community members. Linda DeVore questioned meeting with new members at a special monthly meeting for them. Most were against the idea. Individual personal contacts would continue, and discussions being what the association and its various committees do for all the members. I was very impressed at that meeting. It was very constructive, very to the point.
Thank you, Leo. Millie is going to go ahead and pass on the vendor safety issues, just so that we can try and stay on track for our guest.
Excuse me a moment.
Yeah.
We have some crosstalk and some chitter chatter on the audience. If we could keep it down, because Patrol is writing, we're recording, and it's kind of hard to hear when I hear from the audience. So I'd appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Next up is the presentation of the 2024 budget and reserves. Jim, do you want to?
Yes, each of the board members have a copy of the 2024 budget request that we're going to be submitting to the voters with the next ballot. I believe that comes in October, November. It is available on the website, so we didn't print, 500 copies and take down 2 or 3 different trees. I'll give you the highlights. We're looking at the total requirements for the association to be $1.7 million. When you do the math and divide it out, it raises the fees, which I mentioned in the last meeting, from $48 to $50, a $2 increase. So if you're wondering, wow, $2, it seems horrible, it's 4%, And over the last 3 years, we've had inflation of 4%, 8%, and this year is targeted to be 3%. So we're looking at 12, 13% inflation, and we're only raising the dues 4%. So I'd say we're doing quite well. In that estimate, you're welcome to look through each of the pages. One is for the admin area, one for facilities, public works, and the code enforcement group. If you have any questions on how we came about with those numbers, you think they might be incorrect, you think they're inaccurate, please feel free to contact me. I'm in the admin building almost every day. You can set up an appointment or just pop in, or just call me on the telephone anytime. Now remember, when you're looking at this, the proposed budget numbers are just estimates. So for example, I just picked one area. This is the admin area. We're estimating electricity to be $3,000. Well, is it going to be $3,000? Probably not, but we have to put some type of reasonable guesstimate, reasonable thought process into it. We've done that with all the categories, so please feel free to look at it. And I'd like to ask, get a second from the board to accept this, and then we'll do a vote on it. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor of accepting the budget at $50 for the next go-around?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you.
Pass unanimous.
I do have 2 paper copies. If somebody wants to grab a copy tonight before you leave, I'm welcome to give you one of the 2 that I have.
The
So
next,
would rather not wait to see it on the. Go ahead.
sorry. The next item is the damage to the exit and entrance gates. Leo, do you want?
If a resident or guest of a resident hits the gate and it requires the vendor to come out to fix it, an invoice of $250 is sent. After speaking with our new vendor, he indicated that there is a lot more involved, time and parts, and the price that should be charged is $650. Recommendation: invoice for $650 to be billed to property owners' accounts if a resident or guest or resident knocks down the gate, causing the need to call the vendor to repair and replace. Proposed motion: I move for the board to allow the administration office to invoice for $650 if a resident or guest of resident knocks down the gate, causing the need to call the vendor to repair or replace it. Short story, don't hit the gate.
I'll go ahead and second it. All in favor? Aye. Unanimously approved.
And
Jim?
please, for everyone, please slow down, take an extra second. It's very pricey if you hit that gate. As the gentleman who was here last time said, he fixed it like 12 times in 90 days. That's just insane. So please take an extra second, along with the other things that we always say. Stop speeding, stop at your stop signs, and don't run over a gate. Thank you. Yeah, I'll do the next one. The next one, the next item on the agenda topic is to renew some CDs that are maturing. We have 2 in September, 4 in October, and 3 in November. For the 2 in September are 400,000, the 2 in October are 4 of them at 50,000 or 200,000 total, and 3 in November, 45,000, 51,000, and 71,000. There's 0 in December. So my recommendation is to renew all the CDs as they mature, and need a motion to renew 9 CDs as required by Article 11, Section 1, where it discusses the specific placement of funds needed, where we only need a simple majority of the board. Can I get a second for that? All in favor of renewing?
Aye.
Thank you.
Unanimous, oh,
Yes, ma'am.
Becky Cornwall, Unit 4. I have a problem with assessing the fine to the owner if the owner is not the one who hit the gate. Also, I have guests. I gave a notice saying I have a guest coming. I have no idea who the guest is. It's not my guest. How can you, if they break the gate, how can you bill me when I don't even know who they are?
Has that happened?
I have gotten notice that I have guests and I don't know who these people are.
Right, but have they broke the gate? Right. Well, when that happens, they stop them. They get their license plate number, they get all their information from them, they get their insurance and everything. And they then also confirm where they are going. We just don't let them hit the gate and they keep going. They actually have to completely stop them to get the information from them. And also, first off, to see if there's damage to their vehicle, if they can drive their vehicle, if they're hurt.
Will you contact the owner to confirm that they are their guests?
I would think that would be reasonable, and not from a board of directors person, but just from a resident that lives in the neighborhood. If your guest comes in here and you break that gate, then that resident should be responsible then, period.
Right.
No exceptions.
Right,
In
and
case where they're not truly your guest, then that's a different story.
Yep.
What about the people that mow lawns again, 10, 12, 14 lawns in a day? When they come in and hit the gate, you can't take it away because that's the first stop.
No, I would say no, Peter. That's, in that example, it would not be, the vendor's responsible for that. And all the vendors almost all of them have insurance. So ideally, this is a moving violation. When you hit that gate, it should be something that you're putting down your insurance. And the least worry that I have is the vendors. My greatest concern is people who just aren't paying attention, trying to do it quickly, not paying attention and run the gate and run into the gate. But that's a good question. Thank you, Peter. Sure. The next item I have is I just needed some approval for, actually we don't, but to keep full transparency, we're looking at in the pool area to get 7 tables and 7 chairs. These chairs need to be replaced. They're old, they're broken, they're decayed. Our recommendation is to purchase 7 chairs, 7 tables in early October, and there's a reason for October, and I'll get to that in a second, for roughly $4,234. So my motion is to purchase those 7 tables in October, and then 7 chairs and tables for the pool area. I'll be making a similar request in January for another 7, getting some tables now just for the snowbirds that are coming in. The reason that there's a delay is, and the reason for October and January is what I'd like to do is use the CD interest that we're earning in the reserve funds earned in September to pay for the tables and chairs, and in October and December's interest earned, use it for January. So we're not using it for the base reserve funds. So can I get a second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Pass unanimous.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Are you buying the lawn chairs also? A lot of lawn chairs.
Are you buying new lawn chairs also?
Mike, can you give us exactly what we're getting?
What we're doing first is the tables are all falling apart, they're all damaged, they've been out there for over 20 years. So our first goal is to get the tables replaced, because we've got new umbrellas, and we'll be able to keep the damage down to a minimum. We ordered the chairs because we've got a couple of tables that were already down, so we want to make sure we've got a full complement of chairs. And then what we will do is start working with the board, come up with a schedule to start replacing the chaise lounges and the remaining chairs. Again, because most of the equipment out there is, we bought 5 chairs last year, so this will be another 14 chairs out of 52.
But the old chairs are not all broken. I mean, they're
Oh, we've destroyed about over a dozen because they've just fallen apart. No, but that, yeah, we have one of the chairs come apart today, so, you know.
To answer your question, yes, there is money available for chaise lounge chairs to be purchased, and certainly if they need to be purchased, there's funds in the reserve to do it, and we'd be happy to look into that. Next topic that I have, agenda topic I have is AEDs, automated external defibrillators. The community has one. Oh, okay, we'll come back to that. can I get a second to vote on the chair?
Second,
Okay.
all in favor? Aye. Unanimous.
So back to the AEDs, we have one in this building, it's roughly the center, and what we're looking at doing is getting an additional 1 or 2 AEDs. If we are able to get an additional one for the pool area, 1 for the clubhouse area, if we're able to get 2, 1 for clubhouse, pool, and then 1 down by the guard shack or the admin building, that's where the greatest congregation of people are. So my recommendation is to obtain 1 or 2 AED machines. I submitted 2 separate grant requests to help offset the purchase of that. We should expect to hear something. Hold your thought. I know you got a question or a comment to see if we can get some assistance with the purchases. So I'd like to make a motion after we get some comments. So go ahead. No, we'll let you comment. We'll let you make comments first because I know you want to comment.
Mary Story, Unit 6. First, I'd like to thank the board for the diligence in taking care of the issues previously cast aside by former boards. It should be very clear to our residents that they truly do care about this community. I hope you are planning to place the same diligence on the purchase of the AED unit. As a board, I'd like to ask you if you've ever read or heard of Florida Statute 76.1325, Cardiac Arrest Survival Act. Florida Statute 768.13, the Good Samaritan Act. Florida Statute 401, Section 295, Automated External Defibrillators. These statutes all apply to people, associations that are governed by the 720s. On one hand, as a board and a community, we do have grave concerns over the welfare of our residents. Please don't misunderstand, I think an AED device is a phenomenal life-saving device. But on the other hand, as a board, you have a responsibility, liability, and legality to our residents when it comes to the purchasing and putting it into play. In an article written by Becker, our attorney, he states that the Cardiac Act applies to instances where an AED is used to resuscitate an individual, but in a first aid situation not involving an AED, only the Good Samaritan Act applies. He further suggests and advises all of his associations, before putting one in their place and putting one to use here and purchasing it, that you speak with your insurance professionals and legal service advisors before making this decision. Have we done this?
No, we have not.
Okay. Also,
I've only spoken to the county as you have.
right.
And we did get their offer to train all of our people on how to use them so that we have, because that was one component of getting an AED, that we had to have fully trained staff to utilize them.
Right, and the issue comes in if you read the articles, the statutes and that, there can be some liabilities if non-trained people using them. That's why they're suggesting we just seek legal advice before we do this, because there's a lot of things that come into play. If there's water there, if a woman is wearing a bra with metal in it, okay, water and metal is a conductivity for electricity. Okay, these are things all have to be taken into consideration before someone uses an AED. So what I'm actually is asking for this agenda item, that we consider tabling it until we're able to fully check out the responsibilities, liabilities, and legalities of purchasing it, installing an AED in our communal property. Please, before you make a decision, let's be sure everybody's protected. Thank you.
Right. I don't have a problem with tabling it. I think that we should still move forward with looking to see if there's any grants or anything that we can apply for it. Right, save us some money, right, because it doesn't, right. Right. Right.
I agree as well.
Val, did you want to say something? How much and from what fund?
We don't know.
We don't know yet because there is some grants out there that we're going to go ahead and apply for to see if we can get something, if we can get them free at a very deferred cost. Yeah.
I submitted the grant paperwork, a week ago, and it'll probably be 30 or 60 days before we hear an answer. Also, it was just suggested today that I contact some of the local agencies, United Way, American Red Cross. There's a couple other nonprofits that might be able to assist us either in getting a full grant or some way to offset some of the costs, or just getting a better price on it.
Don't they usually cost like 2,000 a piece?
I thought they were around 1,400, 1,500.
Okay.
But we're in the ballpark.
And what funds would we use to pay for this?
That's probably got to come out of operating.
Okay.
As much as I would love for it to come out of reserve, it's got to be operating, and which is why we're trying to get the grant to keep from using that money. What I don't want, and I think everybody in this room would agree, is that you're at the admin building, somebody walks in to make the payment, they go down, and we don't have a defibrillator, and 5 minutes later, they would have been shocked with it, and everything's good, we don't have it, and they pass away. So I would have trouble sleeping at night for the rest of my life if that ever happened. So, I mean, there's a balance here. We want to protect the community. Mary's made perfectly good points. We have to protect the community because if there ever was some type of lawsuit, the community's on the hook for that. So I'm fine with taking it. Yeah.
Okay, I make a second, I'll second it to table the AED motion. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous.
The last item that I had is to talk about bocce ball court. We have a bocce ball court that's needed, it's in great need of repair and replacement. It's probably 1 million years old. So I have a couple questions that I want to put as agenda items. What's the best option to fix the court? Do we use the resources that we have in either the public works or the clubhouse? Again, it's basically a lumber job where you're cutting wood and putting it together. So kind of a layperson can do it, or do we just hire a contractor, or do we look at doing something where we have some of our folks maybe tear it down and then have somebody build it back up? Again, trying to keep the funds, the usage of funds as low as possible. So what I'm looking for is some comments from the board, what their thoughts might be.
I agree, it's well overdue. It looks horrible out there. I thought, Mike, not to put you on the spot, but was there a place out of Orlando that you had contacted to see? Do you have any updates on that?
No update at this point. The other major problem with the bocce courts is drainage. We would have to tear the whole thing out and then probably trench down and install some kind of French drain or something like that.
Mhm. So we're looking, it does need to be replaced. It looks, it's not fair to the residents that do enjoy bocce ball and like playing it, that they have to play in something like that.
I guess what I recommend to the board, if the board's okay with it, is for us to do a little more research, see what our people can and can't do, and then whatever we can't do or shouldn't do, or is better done by a professional, we get some estimates and then present it in the next board meeting.
I agree, yeah. How do you all feel? Anything?
I think that's what it's been done for.
No?
I think it's a good thing to table it, and we can research it more. Leo agrees too.
Okay, well, let's just table it, we'll bring it up, and do some research and get it at the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just have a quick question.
Yeah. Where is it? It's right out there until to the left. Okay. Val, you did? No? Where? Okay, all right, thank you. Hold on a minute, Leo. The next item on the agenda has to do with an incident that took place at the admin office. Leo, do you care to read that for me? Thank you.
Topic. On September 13th, 2023, there was incident at administrative office with property owner Gail Metcalf, violation of rules and regulations, Article 10, Paragraph 1. Recommendation to permanently trespass Gail Metcalf from the administrative office. Proposed motion, I make the motion to permanently trespass
We need
Gail.
we'll just discuss it, and Ms. Metcalf is here, that she would like to say something also. So, Ms. Metcalf?
This way, everyone here is on the same page of listening to exactly what took place or what didn't take place, because right now, you hear the little out there, and I'll let you know the facts. This is what we're bringing to you right now.
Thank you. First of all, this occurrence, I believe, happened on Monday, the 11th, not the 13th. On Monday, I had an appointment with the GM in the office, and after we had spoken, I had gone to her office, I left her office, and realized I had to go talk with Harry to get an appointment to come out to look at something at our property. Instead of going around the pole to the front office, I inadvertently just went back. Mistake on my part, I just wasn't thinking. At that time, I went down and I made the appointment with Supervisor Calderbank to come to our home. Ms. Breshko was present, and I felt I wanted to apologize and set things right because of a prior misunderstanding between myself and Peter. Peter questioned why I wanted to talk to him when I mentioned that I wasn't mad at him, only that I didn't care for the language he used to another person. He got angry and said it was none of my business. And I said, okay, and I left. And Mr. Calderbank was present for all of that. The next day, when the supervisor came to our home, I voiced concern that Peter will do something to mess up our application because I felt uncomfortable. Supervisor said not to worry, just that the person was a sore subject with Peter, which I did not realize. A few days later on Friday, I was in the lobby making copies for a committee. Peter came in the office, stopped and stared at me until I looked up, and then made a strange verbal sound, sort of like a That time I became more concerned but I didn't feel that a written complaint was necessary because I had already voiced my concern with his supervisor. A simple discussion would have resolved this. That said, I respectfully refer to Rules and Regulations Article 10, which is abusive, offensive, and threatening language. I don't feel I used any of that, I just tried to apologize. Article 12, Enforcement of Rules, states in the penalty category for this fine, it's a 2 or a 4, and it clearly states to be determined by the ABRC. I may have been a then board member at one time, but now I'm a resident and don't expect to be treated differently. It is the board's duty to protect both its employees and residents. Now I feel threatened by Peter, and I have been publicly humiliated by the email that went out to 600 people or so.
Your 3 minutes is, okay, thank you. Okay, no. I will just say this. As the president of your community, I have 45 employees that I am responsible for on a daily basis for their safety and their well-being. I do not take that lightly. I am also an employee of the county. Employment laws are very strict. If an employee feels threatened, I must immediately do something to protect them. The resident feels threatened, so the best thing to do, that employee must be able to come to work every day in a welcoming and safe and secure environment. Best thing to do is separate them. So therefore, not to have Ms. Metcalf come in the office while Mr. Peter is performing his daily duties. I can't tell one person to stay in one part of the building and another to stay in another part of the building, and I'm not going to do that. Code enforcement has the roam of the building. They go every place. They have to speak with everybody. The rule for going in the back was made by the previous board. You should not be going in the back. Reason being, first off, it's computer security. Second, it's extremely sensitive material back there in which you could be calling and discussing maybe a very serious issue. Maybe there was a domestic violence at your home and you're trying to explain that to the code enforcer so you can get the barcode or something like that. Or you can't pay a fine. No one should be back there. The only people who go back there are the employees and sometimes the board members to ask a question. And we leave. We don't sit back there. They're doing their business. They're doing their employment. So because of that, I made a decision to not have Ms. Metcalf come in the building. If she felt threatened, then she shouldn't have approached him. I am, again, the buck stops with me. I am responsible for all 45, and I take that job extremely serious. So I make a motion to permanently trespass Ms. Metcalf from the administrative building. Do I have a second? Second, all in favor? Aye. Passed unanimous, thank you.
Madam President, can I just be recognized for one moment?
No, Ms. Metcalf, you had your time, thank you.
I was speaking with the lawyer because I don't think.
Yeah,
we can do
Ms.
that.
Metcalf, you had your time, thank you. Okay, final thing on the agenda before we have our, Mr. Frazier coming, is the appointment of the election committee chair. Here. Okay. And Ms. Miller, are you ready? We have, Hope Campbell, and also we have a whole bunch for the, election committee. So we'll get reading. Everybody who's on the election committee, can you please stand up and come over to the side over here so Millie can go ahead and swear you in. And so the motion, so I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and have the election, swear the election committee in. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye, pass unanimous. Oh, we have a bunch. Yeah. Is it? Yeah. Over here.
Okay, everybody ready? Here we go. Will you please raise your right hand and repeat after me? Do you solemnly promise and swear that you will administer the office to which you have been appointed to the best of your ability and judgment, in conformity with the governing documents of Brookridge Community Property Owners Incorporated. That you will, in all your acts, be governed by the principles of honesty, justice, and fair play, and in every manner possible endeavor to promote and safeguard the best interests of the citizens of Brookridge and the welfare of its membership. Do you so swear? And then put your, I do. And if you may lower your hand. By virtue of authority conferred upon me, I do hereby proclaim you as duly appointed and officially installed into the office. Congratulations.
Okay, great. We're gonna open it up for member comments. Now, we have no comments right now until we have Mr. Frazier for the development committee. Do we have any member comments?
Deb, you two?
You too.
Yeah, Jerry Kraft, Unit 1, this is kind of a rewind back to the gate question. What is the actual average cost to fix a gate when it is hit? Is it usually $650?
It is, yes, that's the new amount. Because of the computer in it, also in that white island, it's actually air conditioned in there. So it is. The lighting, in the lighting now too.
And Brookridge doesn't make any money from that.
Right.
Whatever we get billed, that's what whoever
Right.
we get billed. So
Right.
we're making
We make zero money on it, nothing. Is there anybody else with any member comments? Oh.
I just want to address the issue. I'm just holding unit number Hope Campbell, Unit 2. I just want to address the issue. If there's any comments out there amongst people on the size of the election committee, we are a bit leaner than we have been in other years. Recently, I've been made aware of 3 more residents who would like to volunteer. So it is growing. In my estimation, it really doesn't matter if we have 10 or 110, as long as we work as a team. Just by submitting the app, it shows the interest and the desire to learn about what the committee does. I have no doubt the committee will get the task done, and we will do it with honesty and accuracy. I thank the board members for their vote of confidence, myself, and the members of the committee. But most of all, I'd like to thank the residents who volunteered for the election committee. Our residents who volunteer and get involved are what makes Brookridge a great community. Thank you.
I do have one, is there a Roger?
Roger with Unit 2. I have two things here. Number one, I was here at the last meeting, and we had a gentleman from Country Club that requested a permit, a zoning change or something to put a driveway in. And unanimously, it was denied by the board. And 3 weeks later, I'm coming off 17 golfing, and I see that they're a brand new driveway. So I'd just like to get a little clarification on what happened to that.
I can tell you what happened, and Paul can help you probably too. He removed 3 feet on one side, 3 feet on the other, that gave him room enough to do what he had to do. But he removed the cement. And that's what he had to do to come up with the 24 feet.
Okay. And the next thing I got is, let me think a minute. A commercial lawn companies allowed to cut grass here on a Sunday.
Yes, yeah.
They are. Well, that answers the rest of my question now. Thank you.
Rich, we know the car show is coming up. October 5th. No, October 8th, the 15th, the 15th. The car show is October 15th, and you better come or we're coming to your house to get you.
October 15th, be there at B Square. Let's face it. A lot of cars, a lot of vendors. If by chance you don't go to the Dodge dealer or Nissan dealer for anything, they're coming here. They're gonna bring their cars out here, just like in 2017 with the Chevy dealer, and they sold 2 cars off of it. And I made sure, talking to the general manager, that they got a good deal. We took all the whole back on the deal, all the extra money on the deal, and they were happy. So come on, have a good time. Men's Club's gonna cook, and a lot of the big trophies, and we have share the wealth, so we have a good time. All drivers eat for free. Thank you. Grab these pictures over here. I'm sorry, got these pictures will be in here. So we're gonna have the Chinese auction, and the blood bank will be here also. You want to get some blood? Come on, get the blood. That's for free. Okay, October 4th, right here in the clubhouse, we have horse races. As one lady asked me before, well, what can I help with? I said, you feed the horses around back. She told me, yes, I blind horses back there for horse races. I took care of her. And also, don't forget the 14th, Saturday is breakfast with the men's club here. So if you need a ticket, get a hold of the men's club. They'll be selling tickets here Tuesday and Thursday. We can rock and roll. Thank you.
Thank you.
Debbie, may I make a comment, please? Sure. Just want to tell everyone that on October the 20th, here in the clubhouse from 10 to 12, we will have Pine Brook Pharmacy here. They will be having a vaccine clinic. He will have pneumonia, flu, the new COVID, whatever, shingles. He has the shingles vaccine as well. He will be here October the 20th. He also will go to someone's home if they're not able to get out and come to the clubhouse. All we have to have is someone call in, let us know, either before that day or on that day, so that when he leaves here at noon, we can send him to their homes.
Do you need an appointment, or do you just show
Just
up?
walk in.
What time?
From 10 to 12, and bring chocolate for my office.
Rhoda, can you give us his name? The owner's name. His name is
Gotham Thacker. He goes by Batman. Okay. But I think everyone probably knows Gotham. He does a lot for our community.
Yes, and he gives a lot back also to our community. Yep. Is there any other member comments before we adjourn? Why don't we, I'll adjourn the meeting. We'll take a 5-minute break so that we can clear off and welcome our guests. So make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second? All in favor? Thank you, everybody, very much. Hope you stay around.
Okay, for anyone that wants to stay around, we have our guest, the developer, who is going to be speaking here at this meeting about the new development that's going on outside the gate. So we appreciate if you stick around so that if you have any questions on the businesses that are going to go in and when they're going to start, please stick around. Thank you.
guest speaker tonight. He's here to take all the questions. Oh, but go ahead, Tracy, thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm here to introduce, I'm Tracy Montgomery, Unit 2. I am the chairperson for the Development Committee, and we've been working very closely with Kevin Frazier from Axion. He is here to give you some information, and then the board will be in the audience to field questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tracy, and thank you, everybody, for having me. My name is Kevin Frazier with Axiom. You've seen the sign out on the property. That actually is my company. I'm the president, so I didn't send somebody here to speak for me. And I do recognize some faces out there that I saw at the zoning hearings last fall, and also several meetings that I had in person with the development committee. So thank you very much for having me. And I know there are a lot of rumors that are going around. I think I've heard Denny's maybe 30 or 40 times. 41 when I drove in, actually. I've heard a rumor at one point I wasn't going to do the project. That's obviously not true. But I'll be happy to explain kind of timelines for everybody, because I know that you all are very interested in understanding that. I cannot, unfortunately, mention specific tenant names right now. But I can give you enough guidance that you'll be able to figure out who they are. But these are tenants I do multiple deals with. I'm bound to very strict non-disclosure agreements and legal documents with them until they have their formal meetings with the county. And then once that happens, it's officially public record, and then I can disclose who the tenants are. That's not that far away. In fact, a few of those tenants I think may have had their meetings already. So with that said, I know there are a lot of questions. I'm happy to answer, and you can all kind of just fire away.
Okay, we're gonna, as the board, we're gonna go around and get the questions and
Sure.
present them, so they won't have to come up and do all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
Oh, hi, Kevin.
Hi there.
My name is Colleen Bonner. I do represent Century 21 Alliance Realty at Spring Hill. Stand up, speak out. Oh my God, really? I try to. My name is Colleen Bonner. I live here in Brookridge. I'm also a realtor with Century 21 Alliance Realty. And my question to Kevin is, I'm thinking, are you a realtor that's representing this company?
No, ma'am. I'm the developer. I'm an owner. I have a license in Georgia, which I just have, and I've had it since I graduated from college. But no, I'm not a realtor. I am a developer and principal of the company.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. I didn't mean to yell there. Sorry, I'm trying to keep this.
My name is Patty Cummings, I'm in Unit 4. Can you tell us, they can't give us names, can you tell us the types of companies?
I can do that. So there's a steakhouse, there's an Italian restaurant, there is breakfast concepts, there is a just American food, I guess is the best way to describe it. We do have a fitness user. We also have just a soft goods, apparel, maybe the best way to describe it. These are all new concepts to the market. This is something I kind of focused on at the zoning hearing. As to the reasons why I'm doing the project, historically, tenants that I do business with all over the country, although I focus in the southeast, historically have overlooked Hernando County. And they've kind of just gone down to State Road 54, Wesley Chapel, Trinity. I actually have some projects down there. But that's changed as the residential population has grown. You've obviously seen all the rooftops, although not right now, but they're coming back once the interest rates get a little more reasonable. And those tenants are now planting a flag here. And so we've got a great lineup of new concepts. I think they're all going to be very well received. And they're very excited about coming as well. Yes, ma'am, they are. There's going to be a blend of chains. We may have a few local concepts. The challenge with local concepts, not that we're against it, and I've developed with local concepts, it's a very difficult thing to do in an interest rate environment like what we're in right now. Those concepts typically don't have very strong balance sheets, and it's tough for lenders to underwrite right now.
What's the name of an anchor store that will be there?
I can't mention that.
What type?
So we don't really have that that historically in retail, you've always had like a grocery store or a Target or a Walmart that's anchored a project. That is changing. That dynamic is changing industry-wide. You're seeing concepts, nearly everybody across the board is shrinking their footprints because of the online retail dynamic. These concepts just don't need as much square footage as they used to. And because of that, the tenants that I'm doing on the restaurants, for instance, they almost always wanted to locate near an anchor tenant. They don't need that anymore. Their consumer patterns have changed. What they're building off of and really feeding off of is all the critical mass that's already on State Road 50 and just capturing that, the existing consumers. And those consumers that will come down from Crystal River with the extension on the Sun Coast, and as everything kind of fills in between 52 and 50. No grocery store right now, but that's not definitive. So I still got a couple of paths left.
Can you talk about where the entrance would be, if you're in and out, going into the...
So we have 3 different curb cuts on State Road 50. There's probably 2,500 linear feet of frontage on my property. And so I have 3 access points directly on State Road 50. There'll be an access point on Grove Road, and then there'll be an access point on Brookridge Central. So there'll be 5 access points, 5 points to get in and out of the property. Knew that question was going to come up. So with golf carts, I don't know, for those of you that have read through the ordinance, there was a condition of my zoning approval with the county last fall that I had to work with the community with respect to providing an access point for golf carts into the project and including a gate. So I stood by that promise that I will absolutely work with the community on that. There's a part of that that I cannot control, however. The legality of golf carts on the road, within the community specifically. I don't know what this community designation is with respect to that. That's something that the community would have to handle. I can't get involved in that because I'm not an owner of any property in the community. But what I've said from the outset and will continue to do is that I will work with the community on that. So I'm really taking my guidance from all of you. I'm happy to do it. I've designed it to accommodate golf cart traffic. But again, that's going to be something that the county is going to have to opine on, the community itself internally will have to opine on.
I'm Antoinette, Unit 3. I have a question. That was my question was the entrance off of Brookridge Central.
Yes, ma'am.
How is that going to affect us at the gate?
So with respect to the gate, and this question came up during zoning, the county is the governing jurisdiction on the road, okay? And the state governs State Road 50. So FDOT is in charge of State Road 50, Hernando County is in charge of Brookridge Central. And what I've been required to do is to widen the lanes coming into State Road 50, or excuse me, coming into Brookridge Central off of State Road 50. In addition to that, I'm having to create an additional, call it dedicated turn lane as you're heading south out, so that you can then turn right on State Road 50 heading, I guess, westbound towards 19. And so we had to do a traffic impact analysis that's been submitted to the state and to the county. They then came back and said they can run their models on how much traffic is generated. And it's not just traffic generated in the summer when there are not as many residents here. Those traffic patterns are taken throughout the entire year to come to an aggregate. And so I'm creating improvements on that intersection itself with respect to the actual lanes themselves, but we're also going to recalibrate the timing on the traffic light. Because I've heard a number of times that it's bad. And so what this will do is the state won't do that if you just ask them to do it. There has to be a reason to prompt them to do it. And that's what's going to occur as a result of my construction.
I got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
I seen on the plans a storage facility and a roof shop.
So we are allowed by right in zoning to do both. And with respect to where we are with those tenants right now, I can't answer that. That's just, there's nothing I can really say at this point about it. Nothing has been said. But I am allowed by right in the zoning to do that.
But we were originally told it would be high-end shopping in that center. The original
I said it's high-end retailers, high-end restaurants, and again, that's what I'm bringing into the project.
Yeah, well, how does the storage facility and the wood shop fit into that?
It's a 30-acre project, and those are two uses of what would ultimately be 12 or 13 total uses. So it's a small percentage of the overall project.
Okay, I'm next, thank you. Yes, that was one thing I did notice, a storage, self-storage, so that's part of the development?
That is part of what I'm allowed to do by right with the zoning, yes,
And
ma'am.
yet what I saw was a 3-story self-storage, so is that about what's gonna happen?
When you say you saw it, where did you see
Oh, well, you
3-story?
know, social media.
That's news to me.
Well, that's what I mean, I'd like you to straighten that out.
That's news to me. So I have not filed any plans for a self-storage facility. I have not secured any operator of a self-storage facility. Whatever was written on social media is not factual.
No, it was actually a blueprint of what was going in. But that's okay, because this is what we need to clarify with you, that right now,
There's a facility that went into the west,
oh, we all know that one.
but there's no blueprint because that would have to come from me, and I have not submitted any plans
Correct,
for that.
and this is why you're here, to clarify.
Yes,
There's a
ma'am.
lot of rumors out there, and
Yes,
we
ma'am.
need to know the truth from fiction.
Sure.
But there might be a self-storage.
There might be, yes, that isn't allowed use by right. But
Okay.
again, it's one piece of a very large project, and that's, again, nothing has been set in stone, but I am allowed by right to do it.
Okay, and because you are allowed, how many stories high are you allowed?
That, again, is a question specific to the ordinance that I don't know the answer to off the top of my head.
Okay.
I'm not that well versed in the ordinance, my civil engineer is, but I'm not, I
Okay,
apologize.
no, it's because we have one at the other end.
Yes, ma'am.
And I have one more question. Because of Grove Road being one of the places where the vehicles could come into, was there any traffic control consideration as to whether or not, once you end Grove Road and you're on 50, is that going to remain the same where you could only take a right, or are they thinking of putting a traffic light there?
So there are minimum distance standards that FDOT has in their traffic manual, and they hold very firm to those minimum distance requirements. And typically it's a minimum of 1,500 feet. There is not enough distance between the traffic light once you exit the Suncoast to Grove Road to have another traffic signal. They make me do what's called a signal warrants analysis, and there are probably 11 different criteria that they study. You only have to meet one to get a traffic light approved, but we don't meet a minimum distance standard right there, and so they would not approve a traffic light.
Okay, good clarification, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering, when is your project going to start?
So I knew I was going to get that question. That's probably one of the biggest questions. So that's probably why the rumor came about that I'm not going to do the project anymore. And obviously that could be further from the truth. Development takes a long time, especially with a project of this scale. And there are certain steps I have to go through with Hernando County before I can even put a shovel in the ground. And those steps just take a long time. I've got 30 acres that I have to develop out there. I have to get permits from 4 different jurisdictions, not just Hernando County, Southwest Florida Watershed Management, State DOT, County DOT. So, and that process started in February, right after I got through well, not right after I got through the zoning, but not too long after that. And so that process is ongoing. I have filed for my permits. I was originally, and I may have mentioned this to some of you in the audience, which maybe where the rumor came from that I wasn't going to do the project anymore. I originally had planned to break ground now, by the end of this summer. That got pushed back, and it's just a factor of the amount of time it takes to submit plans. The county, Hernando County, they're wonderful people, but everybody right now is understaffed and overworked. And I'm not the only person building a project in Hernando County, as I've come to find out. And so there's just a lot going on, and it takes time. Based on where we are right now, I would expect, because one of the questions I was asked was about Christmas decorations, and if you all could decorate your sign, you can go ahead and do that. I don't think I'm going to be doing anything by the end of the year, unfortunately. I think it's probably going to be early next year, and I will keep you all in the loop on that. As things progress, I've been down a bunch, just to kind of tell the county, hey, I'm still here, just to kind of keep them focused on what I'm doing. But again, it just takes time.
Another question, once you get started, how long do you think it takes to finish?
Another great question. So typically, and again, this is just as a general, I've been doing this for 15 years all over the country. Typically, it takes about 12 months to build a project. Because you've got a lot of infrastructure you have to put in under the ground first, and you've got to do grading, you've got to do landscaping. There's just a lot that goes into it. So I would say on the fast side, 12 months. But in Florida, obviously this time of year, it rains every single day, and so dealing with the setbacks from not having enough dry ground to work with, it just takes time. So I say 12 months on the quick end, 18 months on probably about where it's going to be.
Another question.
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to put a road in, like, halfway, half, in the middle of the 30 acres, right?
So the county requires what's called reverse frontage roads. And that's a unique characteristic for Hernando County. I've never really dealt with it anywhere else. And the purpose of that road, so the answer to the quick answer is yes, it's at the north part of the property, not through the middle. And the purpose of that is to keep, from what I've been told, again, I'm not an engineer, so I didn't design this concept, but to keep the traffic, if you want, to not have to get on State Road 50 to be able to traverse east to west without getting on the main road. And that's a requirement of every project. I mean, I sat there and listened to one residential developer go back and forth with the county for about 2 hours, and the county didn't budge. They're saying they're going to have their frontage road, and so there will be. I'm sorry?
And you can't put a stop on.
No, ma'am.
Linda, after you, I have a question over here.
Vivian Blair, Unit 4. My question is, as far as Brookridge Central, are you doing the road project or is it Hernando County? When will that be starting?
I am doing that. So that's another thing. The county's not going to pay for any of that. I'm going to pay for that out of my pocket. But that will be part of or is part of my submittal to the county. So when I break ground, I'm going to break ground on all of it at one time, because there's an economies of scale to be doing it that way rather than doing it piecemeal. It's much more expensive. There's a lot more opportunities for things to go wrong if I do it that way. And so we will, once we pull what's called our site placard, which is our land service permit, that will be part of the overall scope of what I do now. The State Road 50 access points, that's permitted through a different jurisdiction. So that may not activate at the same time, but my intent is to get it all done at the same time, because I don't want to have to mobilize multiple crews to come out there in a staggered manner, because I'm going to have to pay each time they go out, and I have to pay them each time. So the intent is to do it all at once. Yes, ma'am.
You said you're gonna widen Brookridge Central. So you mean you're putting in a third lane on Brookridge Central?
So we are putting in a dedicated, if I'm not mistaken right now, and obviously you can hold me to this because I don't live here. My understanding right now is there are basically 2 lanes in, 2 lanes out. There's going to be a third lane out that will be dedicated solely for people turning west onto State Road 50. And that is going to be extended up to allow more cars to be able to queue to get out and to alleviate the traffic concerns that you all have by the entrance and by the gate.
So coming in from 50.
Coming in from 50, there's not going to be a third lane. We're just basically widening what's there, creating more of a defined shoulder, and there will be 2 dedicated turns in from State Road 50.
And then when you do it, you put the turn on the Brookridge Central on the side heading towards 50.
Yes, ma'am.
The property, is that coming away from Register, or is it going to affect our front side?
You're saying coming away from Register? No, it's going, it's on the Chevrolet side.
It's on the Chevrolet side,
Yes, ma'am.
so our sign won't be affected.
Your sign's not going anywhere.
I have 3 questions. Over here? No, keep.
Oh, sorry.
3 questions, and all require a very short answer.
Yes, ma'am.
1, what is the name of the project?
It's called the Alliance at the Grove. And I did that to basically pay homage to Grove Road 1. I know there were a lot of orange groves, but that's the name of the project, the Alliance at the Grove.
The
The
Alliance?
Alliance at the Grove.
Oh, the Alliance at the
At the
Grove?
Grove, yes,
Or
ma'am.
Groves?
Grove, just
Just
Grove,
one?
yes, ma'am.
The Alliance at the Grove?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, number two, how many units are you planning for at this point in time?
When you say units, can you kind of clarify what you mean by units?
Individual businesses?
So individual businesses, we are, right now we're at 10. And it could go up probably with max out at 14. I'm not gonna have more room to do than that.
14, 1-4, max?
1-4. I didn't say max, 1-4 is where I anticipate it going. Right now, I'm gonna count, so just bear with me. 11. I'm at 11 right now.
11?
Yes, ma'am.
14?
Yes.
The max. Third question is, how many parking spaces are you gonna have?
I have no idea how many parking spaces. Enough to where the restaurants were able to commit to the site. And that's, these restaurants have to have a minimum threshold to get through their respective committees. The county has a standard. That's minimum standard. Typically, with a restaurant, it's 10 parks per seat or square footage of the restaurant. Retail is typically four parks per 1,000 square feet. The restaurants require in excess of that amount because what they don't want to have is just a massive traffic jam. They don't want people to come in and not be able to get a parking space and then lose business. And so the way we've designed it is each of those restaurants are able to self-park in the parking fields in their immediate vicinity. We're not relying on what we call in the industry cross-parking, to where you would basically cannibalize somebody else's parking field just to get your consumers on site.
One more question.
Okay.
These 14 units, 11 have been committed, correct?
So when I say committed, that's either I've signed a lease or I signed an LOI and they've taken it to their corporate committee for approval.
Okay. Are any of these 14 units going to be nonprofits?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Those are the questions. Thank you.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
got this gentleman right here that's been standing here for 2 days.
I have just one question, and that question is, will there be sidewalks along the access road for pedestrian traffic?
I'm sorry, sir, could you say that one more time?
Will you be putting in sidewalks along the back access roads for pedestrian traffic?
I have to look at the plans. I can't recall if that's a requirement of the county. We did have to install, or we do have to install sidewalks off of State Road 50 as they head north into the property. I believe there is a sidewalk. I'll confirm that. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Renee Jasnak, Unit 1. Actually, it was not on social media where the community got an idea of what was going into this new shopping development, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
One gentleman was smart enough to go on Hernando County site and able to pick up the blueprints and read them and showed the residents here that a storage facility 3 stories high and a lube shop was included in the plans of this project. Now, I have come to every meeting that has been held here at Brookridge, and I understand, yes, you have a right to put in, but when you were up here speaking previously, okay, you only brought up the higher end restaurants or shops. Companies like that you would find in Tampa are moving out here, just like what you're saying tonight. That's what was proposed. Nothing about a 3-story storage unit. That's in the plans, 3-story, and a lube shop. Now, I live 500 feet behind that. I do not want to look out my door and see a 3-storage storage unit. That was never even in the proposed plans that you verbally brought up to the community.
So I can promise you there are no blueprints of the self-storage facility for my site. I would have to submit that. I'd love to see wherever you saw it. I'd love to see it because it definitely did not come from me. But the answer I'll give you with respect to the lube shop is these tenants all piggyback off of consumer traffic. And you come into this site and you get several daily needs serviced while you're there. And a loop shop is perfectly compatible with these restaurants. That happens in Tampa, it happens on State Road 54. And again, it's a small component of a larger project. And in the zoning hearing, intentionally, the county staff and the commission said the only place that could be located was along State Road 50, away from the neighborhood, because it's a higher intensity use, which is where it would be.
How will,
Ma'am, I have not proposed a storage unit. As I've said, I have the right to do it in my zoning. But I can I can stand here with absolute certainty, there have been no blueprints submitted by me on that. Okay, I'd love to see it. Where does it say storage? That's just where, that's not a blueprint. That's an health club. That's retail. Yes, that's where, if we ended up doing a self-storage, that would be the only place we would be able to do it. That's not a building, like I haven't submitted for construction plans for a self-storage facility. I do.
hello? How will the construction
So as part of the permitting, there are gopher tortoises on site, and the State Department of Environmental Protection mandates that they have to be relocated before any construction can occur. And so I had to survey the entire site prior to submitting my permits, which I've done. And we had to go back out, or we will have to go back out and resurvey one more time. I've already secured a donor site for the gopher tortoises. There's a very, very particular process that I have to follow. And when you relocate them, it has to be done by a contractor that has experience relocating the tortoises. I don't know exactly how they do it. But again, I can't file for my permits, or I can't begin construction until they're gone, so none of them will be endangered.
How is this construction going to affect us getting in and out?
I can't see what the question is.
Yeah, right now.
Oh, sorry.
How is this construction going to affect us getting in and out of Brookridge?
So as part of the permitting process, the county makes us do what's called a traffic management plan, so that we can ensure that there's never a moment where the access into and out of the community is compromised. The county wouldn't allow me to, or would not permit the site without us ensuring that that was going to be preserved continuously, so that it's not like a situation where if somebody needed an ambulance, that the road wouldn't be shut down where an ambulance could be on the side, or if there was a need for any kind of first responders. The county would not allow us to construct the site in a way that would compromise the ability for those types of vehicles to get into the community.
I have two more questions.
Yes, ma'am.
The first one is, since the Alliance at the Grove and Brookridge community property owners have a common boundary, what is going to be the buffer?
So there is a 20-foot landscape buffer that the county included in the ordinance when they said that because they told me this on multiple occasions, that they're going to pay particular attention to that. And so, and that was even mentioned, I can't remember the chairman's name at the hearing last fall, but even he mentioned that. And so the county has kind of a baseline landscape requirement in terms of the amount of trees, the distance between those trees, and I'll tell you specifically, actually.
Is this buffer going to be soundproof? Is this buffer going to be light-proof?
So when you permit, there is a requirement that I can't have any light from my property spilling over into adjacent properties. There's an intentional design with the street lamps, for instance, how their basically their light umbrella comes down. They cannot bleed over into an adjacent property. The county would not permit without that. It's called a photometric plan. It's part of my land disturbance permit. And then we are landscaping beyond what the county code requires on that northern boundary. And so it's kind of a multiple buffer. You got the 20-foot landscape buffer. That's also where my detention ponds are located in the upper west and upper east corners. And then in addition to that, the reverse frontage road that the county requires, which is an additional, I think, 50 feet, extends below that landscape buffer. And so you've got about 70 feet of landscape buffer between buildings, my project, cars, and the neighborhood property lines. And then we're not disturbing, I add one more thing. There are existing trees along those property lines, some pretty tall pines. There may be some species trees back there as well. My species mean hardwoods. We're not disturbing any of those trees. We're preserving as much of the existing foliage as we can and building in our landscaping around that. So it actually acts as an additional buffer utilizing what's already there.
Okay. Another question is, how many handicap permit spots are you going to have?
So the county requires, again, I don't know the answer to that. There is a specific number for every 10 spaces. I can't remember what the exact number is, but for every 10 spaces, you have to have one handicap spot. And so we're meeting the county standard as applied to the square footage of the restaurants, for instance. We'll have all the requisite handicap spots. We'll also have the ramps. It has to all be ADA compliant. We are bound to that design criteria in our permit.
So 1 per 10, that means that you have.
I'm not saying it's 1 per 10. I don't know what the county requirement is. Whatever that number is, we are meeting that standard.
Okay, and for the environment, are you going to have so many trees per acre in the parking lot?
We have to have essentially every 10 spaces per the county requirement. You cannot have any more than 10 consecutive parking spaces, without a landscape island. And so for every 10 spaces, you can't have 20 spaces in a row and then no trees. Every 10, it has to be broken up by a landscape island with a tree. Coupled with that, in between each of the interior parcels, there's a 5-foot landscape strip that separates each individual, call it use, is probably the best way to describe it. And those will have trees and shrubs. So there will be foliage and greenery going into the site from State Road 50 and coming down to the site from the north boundary.
Are any of these 14 units medical?
Hi. Hello.
Deb?
Hello. Now, I was told, and I'm not sure, it might have been hearsay or whatever, the light at Barclay that goes straight into our Brookridge community. Are they changing that road also at Barclay that will go straight in our community?
So that's Brookridge Central you're talking?
The cross 50 to go into our community, that's Barclay.
Correct, which is south. Are they doing, am I doing something to Barclay?
Yeah.
No, ma'am, that's outside the scope. I think the county had heard somewhere.
Yes.
When I first started working on this project, which was probably 3 or 4 years ago, that there were some plans at some point to do something on Barclay, but it's
So
not
that has
all.
nothing to do with you?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Can you tell us how Tundra Road over here is gonna tie in that retention pond and that?
Is Tundra Road the one that runs behind the car dealerships?
Yeah.
So where it terminates right now, if I'm not mistaken, it actually lines up with basically a space between the realtor office and the, what do you call it, just convenience store, liquor store, which I don't know about that. And so county or just typical engineering standards, you want driveways to align so that there's not the potential for cross turning, which can basically encourage accidents. And so we would design it so that that road would meet to where in theory somebody could drive. I mean, they're not going to, but you would be able to see oncoming traffic if somebody was trying to cross Brookridge Central to get into the project. Way to that. Yes, ma'am.
Are the 2 realty offices and the liquor store gonna go away?
I don't know what's going to happen with the liquor store. I would love to buy it. I know. I haven't talked to him directly. I've talked to him through people. But with respect to the realtor's office, that actually is going to be demolished at some point in the future. And that's, I'm sorry. That's the standalone building. Yes, ma'am. The one that's closest to the neighborhood. And because that's where I'm going to have my detention facility for stormwater. It's going to be located right where that building is standing. And I'm not sure if anybody that works at Brookridge Bar is here, they're on a month-to-month lease, they have been since we started. I told them they can stay as long as, they're able to before I break ground.
Quick question. Coming off of 50, turning in the liquor store and the real estate, are you gonna still leave those turns open, or do all of you to the road until they come back up again?
When you're saying the turns, you mean the median?
When you come off of 50.
Yes, sir.
You go about 50 feet and you turn in the liquor store.
So I don't know what's gonna happen with the liquor store in terms of their access points. What you're referring to is their curb cuts to access Brookridge Central.
Right.
I don't know what's gonna happen with that. It may be grandfathered in, which is just a term, if it's there and existing, it can stay as long as you don't change it. If you change anything, then the DOT can come in and say, we'll just take it all away. There's not gonna be any cross access between my property and the liquor store. There's just no real convenient place to put it. And so that will be the only way you can enter and exit that property, will be through those main access points off State Route 50.
So you don't own that property?
No, ma'am, I do not. No, it's owned by an independent party. That's the only piece that I don't. Outside of the medical offices that border Grove Road.
Is there anybody else with any other questions?
No, we have a couple from YouTube.
Okay, back in the back. Go ahead, George.
Do you see in the future where you may own that building?
A bunch.
Oh, a bunch.
Do you see in the future where you may own that liquor store?
I don't know if I should pass or if I should answer.
Pass.
Because we'll help you empty it out.
A couple questions from YouTube.
I'm sorry, folks, I can't hear your question.
Do you have any plans to erect a bus shelter on Route 50? Help the people who might want to take bus transportation?
So that would be, I think what you're asking is there going to be a bus shelter or a bus stop on State Road 50? So if there's already a stop there, then that's going to have to remain as part of my permitting. I'm not sure where that bus stop is, to be honest with you. Depending on where it is in relation to the 3 access points that we have in our plans that have been approved. But yes, I mean, the bus stop, I can't take it away, so it will still be there. It may not be in the same place.
I wanted to know if you would welcome the shelter so the people who go to your stores don't have to stand out in the rain waiting for the bus.
When it comes to the design of, because I mean, that's a public facility, when it comes to the design of the public facility, the county dictates that. I don't have anything to do with it.
And how big is the retention pond going to replace the Rosedale? Is it going to be as big as the one behind?
So it's I can tell you the exact acreage actually. So it's 0.87 acres is the northwestern detention pond. The northeastern detention pond is, I think, 2.5 acres.
And they both border on residents?
Correct. And those will be landscaped, to answer one of your other questions. Unless you had an 9,000. But there'll be perimeter landscaping there that will be coupled with the landscaping I'm putting on the buffer. So again, it's the site lays out well that that's where those ponds have to be located because it does act as an additional buffer.
We have some YouTube questions.
Let's do it.
All right, Kevin. Anthony Langone, Unit 3. Are they going to be moving the Brookridge sign?
No, sir.
I was running around, so I didn't hear you when you were doing
That's
that.
okay.
The next question was, Jerry Kraft, Unit 1. How close will the road be to the current fence behind the homes in Brookridge, I assume?
There's a 20-foot landscape buffer, then there's the curb for the road. So it'll be 20 feet from the actual fence line and the existing vegetation. And I believe the width of the road is required by the county standards 50 feet. That's how big the right of way is, because that's going to be a public road. I'm not going to own it. The county's going to maintain it. That's the stipulation of the county.
Second part to that question, will you put up a solid fence for the residents that back up to the property to reduce noise and for privacy?
So we are putting up the landscaping, and it's tiered landscaping to create an opaque buffer. The problem with fences, and I mentioned this in the zoning hearing, I don't know if you all remember this, the existing vegetation and tree lines, those existing root systems, if I put a fence in there, I'd have to tear all of it down. And because you have to have one continuous footer for a fence, and it's disruptive, it would kill everything that's there right now.
That's good. That's all from YouTube.
Oh, I have a question here, please. Next.
Oh, back here.
Right,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. Somebody mentioned to me there was for sale or lease sign, but that property, even though it looks like it's part of your property, is not part of your property, right?
When you say for sale or lease, which property are you?
Further towards the other buildings that are already up on.
Those are my lease, okay, so there's a lot of signs out there.
Yeah.
I was happy that my sign actually stayed up, the AX, because I've got a business or strategic partners, Wilson Development Group. You see company logos on that sign. That's one of my strategic partners. We share office space in Atlanta. There's a leasing sign out there with my leasing reps from Colliers International. It's a guy named Tyler Peterson. He's actually from Brooksville, in Colony. And so they are employed by me to lease the project. When it says for sale or lease, that's kind of a standard verbiage that they put on leasing signs. Great activity, because some of the tenants, and not every tenant, but some tenants prefer to own rather than allow me to build for them or sign a lease with me. And so that's the reason for that, is to let the tenants know that we're not opposed to selling. I don't want to sell. I'd much rather have a lease. It's more valuable. But some tenants just, that's their standard. They just refuse to do a lease. They only will buy. So that's the reason it says for sale or lease. But it's not like I'm not trying to sell the property. So maybe that was part of where maybe people said I was not going to do it. It is confusing if you're not in the industry, so I apologize for that.
Very good. Thank you very much for that clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
The question I want to ask is, right here.
Oh, sorry.
Right here. I hope you put in a grocery store. I mean, and the reason I say that is because there's so many elderly people in here, and they can get on their golf carts, and they can just go get their milk and their bread.
So believe me, I'm trying. There is, again, there's a limit to what I can do and what I can't do. These tenants do operate on their own parameters, their own diagnostic analysis of any given site. You know, they have radius restriction, you know, radius covenants where they don't want to be close to another competitor because they're going to lose market share. So believe me, I'm trying. I do know that there is another grocer coming to the market, not on my site. There's one of those kind of call it soft goods retailers that went bankrupt recently. They had 3 B's in their name.
Yeah.
I believe there's a tenant going in their space that is a grocer. So I'm not going to say that I'm doing one. I'm not going to say I'm not. I do have an Italian restaurant, and it's. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Is any of the items coming in on the Central Boulevard going away, or are they going to get smaller?
Any of the.
The items, you know, where the trees, the medians. Is any of them going to go?
So I'm not touching the medians. There's already a dedicated, we call it dedicated turn lane as you're heading eastbound going towards the Sun Coast. There is a median, there's a turn lane in the median that right now just dead ends into my property. That's going to be one of the entry points into my property off of 50. But I'm not doing anything with respect to touching the median. That's very expensive. DOT does not like you to do it. And so, and given that it's all the infrastructure is already there, they basically said you have to work with what's there.
Okay, that's why.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I can assure you, you are going to be very happy with the Italian restaurant that's going to be
Lisa, she wants me to ask you.
Yes, ma'am.
What's going to happen when you guys start cutting everything down and all the, not only the turtles, but the snakes and all that stuff?
So I got this question.
What is going to happen to the people that's on the fence?
So I've gotten this question from one of the members of the boards I've met with in the past. So when we come in to relocate the gopher tortoises, we're going to put up a silt fence. And you all, I'm sure, have seen silt fences before. That's to prevent any more tortoises, from coming back in to the property. I'm not moving them next door. I mean, we're taking them to a ranch pretty far away. But with respect to any wildlife that's on site, I mean, that silt fence is going to protect a lot. I can't promise, like, a a snake's not gonna sneak through. I mean, we'll do our best not to, and believe me, once we start, I mean, it's, the only thing we've really found, I've walked that side, and I don't just go traipsing through the bushes, you know, not looking down. I mean, again, silt fence is gonna do a lot to impede any movement north out of my side into the neighborhood.
Now, this one over here wants to know,
Yes,
is there
ma'am.
gonna be any fast food coming in?
So we have, and by fast food, so I look at, so there's different things. No, because, no, all those concepts are already here. And we have what's called fast casual, which are concepts like Chipotle, for instance. I mean, I know they're already here, but that's what you consider fast casual. And so we're working with a couple of fast casual concepts. Now, with respect to fast food, I'll just highlight this because I get this question a ton. With drive-throughs, COVID, like what I was referencing earlier about how you don't need anchor tenants like you used to even 10 years ago. All of these tenants now require drive-throughs because of COVID. They all had to shut down. They had no way of operating without being able to service consumers via, you know, a drive-through. And so concepts that historically have not had them, like Panera, Chipotle is an example, they all now require it. And so there will be drive-throughs. I'm saying all that to say there will be drive-throughs. But with respect to how we have designed the project, it's predominantly called casual restaurants, which are seated restaurants. There will be patios. Now, some of these tenants, they have their own specs that they design it to in terms of the number of seats, but there will be, based on concepts that we have that are coming in.
Is there any other questions? No? All right. Well, we just want to thank you much for coming and answering our questions. We look forward for you coming back and when you get.
Yeah, thank you all very much.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.